animals from whatever we give them. So we look at the basic nutrition of of these animals. So diet formulations for high producing dairy cows requires knowledge of the nutrients that are required by the mammary glands to produce milk. So going direct to the point, we need to know what is needed to make this milk. And that is what we are supposed to concentrate on, or that is what we are supposed to manipulate so that we get the desired outcome. One and the most crucial nutrient will be what? Oxygen for respiration, sindio? Ama? Aya. Oxygen is a nutrient. It is gotten through some other process, but it's very key for life. Then we have water. We have proteins, whatever we called yesterday as energy-giving foods. I don't like to classify carbohydrates and fats zikiwa kando kando, because whatever we look at is the energy bit. Then we have minerals, and we have vitamins. So understanding their physical characteristics and their combined interactions are essential to successful dairy cattle feeding. So when we understand this, as I had said, we can manipulate that to get the whatever desired outcome that we might need from this animal. So I said nutrition is complex, but I just want to go and concentrate in the mammary glands, where the actual synthesis ya maziwa ina happen. So milk secretory process, it comes from whatever you feed in on the yellow bit, on the, will it be on your right side or your left? Itakuwa right, nyinyi mkiangalia. That is where we have the mouth. So ng'ombe anakula chakula through the mouth. It goes into the rumen, to the reticulum, the oomesum, the abomasum, into the intestines. We have the nutrients being absorbed. We get into the blood, and that and the nutrients are taken into the udder. We have the secretory cells. Then that is where the actual process of making milk takes place. That was just for visual appreciation. Then we see how hormones and stress interact to make to affect milk production. So when we have stress factors, we see some decline of milk production, because there will be less production of prolactin, oxytocin, thyroid stimulating hormone, akina estrogen, what do we call it? Thyroxine. T3 and T4, whatever. And I said I don't want to make this topic very... So, from there, the nutrients, all the nutrients after we have digested them, everything will culminate in having absorbable nutrients. And the basic media that we will use to get these nutrients is water. So water is very critical, and for it, water is second only to oxygen as the most important element for life. So that is self-explanatory. Milk is 87% water and is crucial for milk production. So water is 87%. It comprises 87% of what makes up milk. Water makes up up between 56 and 81% of total body weight in a dairy cow, and between 68 and 72% in the pre-ruminant calf. So you can see, basically, it's a fluid walking, but enhanced by some other structural stuff, the kina bones and the muscles. So water is essential for transport of substances around the body, for temperature regulation, insulation, removal of waste, that is excretion. Water is essential for rumen microbial development in the pre-ruminant calf. So for the microbes to develop, they have to be in a media. And water is that gives that environment for the development of these microorganisms. So where do we get water from our animals? Drinking water. This is very basic nutrition. Water from the feed, from whatever we feed our animals on, endogenous reactions, all that. Then the major source of water is free water or free water intake. That will give us the largest proportion of whatever we'll get in the animal's body. Therefore, anything that limits free water intake will hamper the animal's performance. So unapata Masai hawezi kosa kupea ng'ombe yake chumvi ili afanye nini? Itikie kunywa maji. As will be expected, free water intake increases as milk production increases. So the higher an animal produces, the more the water they'll take in or they need. Water intake also increases when the cow is in an environment where the temperature humidity index is above 68. So like where we are and where I come from, there will be some difference in the water intakes of animals being reared in those two places. The actual complicated issue that as we dive into these animals or the dairy production is whatever I was calling yesterday negative decad. There are some rations that we make that are having more of the negatively charged ions. There are kina sulfur, there are kina chloride, all that. When we are preparing these rations, it's very key to take note that even water can supply these elements to the animal. So we have to factor in that. Si wakati mwingine tunasema maji iko na chumvi. So that is what I'm basically talking about. So if you are doing a negative decad ration, then you have to cater for whatever might be supplied in the diet. Why do we do this? Kukikuwa na negative charge na inakuja kwa diet, in nature kuna kwanga na vacuum. See, we have to find some balance. So you find the animal tending to metabolize or to mobilize calcium reserve. See, calcium is positively charged so that we have a balance. So we will avoid the case we were talking about yesterday on the calcium hemostasis imbalance. Sawa sawa? Tunanyita. Tumeshika aje hapo kwa negative decad. How does it affect hemostasis? Ama how can we use it kuzuia mambo ingine? Tunyanyita, sio? Nirudie. Nimesema if we supply more of these two, the chloride and the sulfur and also the phosphate, they are negatively charged, sindio? And I have said in nature, we have to have a balance. The animal will tend to have, okay, we will have this more of this in blood, more of the negatively charged ions in the blood. Then the body in trying to balance that, it will mobilize akina sodium, akina calcium to come into the blood so that we have a balance. When that happens, I'd said we mobilize calcium from the bone reserves, from the bones, from muscles or from tissues into the blood. Tukifanya hivyo, ile hemostasis ya calcium itafanya nini? itafanya kazi. Ng'ombe wetu ataacha tu kurely on just getting the calcium from the nutrition ama from the intestines. Hiyo tumeshika? Good. Then we go into proteins. Yesterday we said what percentage of proteins do we require? Sio mingi. 16 to around 20 something percent. Sindio? So protein is typically measured in feedstuffs as crude proteins, and that is why we are having a cash cow nowadays called inaitwa Super Napier. It has very high crude protein, or that is see that is the business language that everyone is having. So the crude protein comes because it's the unit we use to measure the protein content in any feedstuff that we are giving to an animal. So it is defined as the nitrogen percentage in a feed multiplied by 6.25. That is the unit. The reason as to why we use 6.25 is that is from the fact that proteins contain approximately 16% of what we give to our animals. However, crude protein contain not only true protein, but other nitrogen compounds such as amino acids, dipeptides, nucleic acids, also urea, and other non-protein nitrogen, what we call NPN. It is important to note that an animal does not have any requirement for proteins, but whatever they need is the amino acids. Sawa sawa. But now these proteins are just channels or medias that we can use to extract the amino acids. The amino acids is what the animal uses for its own body processes. So when we nourish this animal with the amino acids, they are used for various reasons. They'll be used for enzymes, enzymes formation. They'll be used for milk production. They'll be used for milk proteins, for immunoglobulins. All these are proteins. So excess amino acids can be used in instances of gluconeogenesis, lipogenesis, so any excess, and most of it then, if it doesn't undergo this process, then it comes out of the body, kama waste. Production of milk protein is needed for the production of bioactive proteins present in the whey portion of milk, which have several protective functions to the neonate. The production of casein and whey protein provides the amino acids necessary for growth in the calves. So all these proteins that I'm talking about, or all these amino acids that I'm talking about, is tulisema ng'ombe hana haja sisi kutupea maziwa. Their intention is basically to nurture the neonates. So that is why I'm saying that the whey portion of proteins is made from whatever you feed the animal. So the quality of it, or the quality of the milk will directly affect how, if you're having a calf, or the animal is having a calf, how that calf growth rate will look like. So amino acids in nature are hundreds, but we concentrate with some small group. Amino acids contain both the amine and the acid group, so structurally how they are, kutoka kwa biochemistry. In most animals, there are 10 essential amino acids, and then there are other non-essential amino acids. What was the difference? Ndio mnisaidie kusummarize hii darasa. What is the difference between essential and non-essential? Okay. There are those that are required during metabolism. for instance. They are required in carrying out vital processes. Okay, it's a good attempt. Daktari, utasemaje? Nimeona ni kama joto imeenda juu. Na nataka mnisaidie kusummarize hii darasa tuende nyumbani. Okay, what is the difference? Good. Amesema the essential ones are not as the non-essential ones are not as essential. Ama umesemaje? Are not as important. Ni sawa tu. But the main difference is, okay, give it a try. I see it's coming up. Essential amino acids are synthesized by the body. Higher, good. Now, that statement is towards being correct, but it has gone to the wrong direction. It's the other way. The essential amino acids cannot be synthesized by the body. So to mean, we have to supplement them to the animal. Or we have to give to the animal from other sources. Then the non-essential ones, and that is why they are called non-essential, as he's saying, they are not as important, they can be synthesized in the body. What? When we are doing basic, tunataka kutengeneza, we look at energy. Nayo sana. Ni nini? Wheat, maize germ. Bas, tusimamia hapo. Tukienda kwa proteins, ni nini inakuwa very za hizo vitu tunasema. We have the other components, and that is, I'll show you why we mix all of them. Now, what we have in corn, ni mzuri, we will have a lot of starch. But in corn, it doesn't have amino acid, lysine. Sawa? Haina lysine. Nayo, ukitengeneza chakula na soybean, hizo ndo the main stuff most people can access. So the two, kwa sababu haziko kwa hizi ingredients tunatumia sana kwa kutengeneza chakula, then we term them limiting because they are not there. We have to kuiweka. Tumeelewa hiyo point? Tumeshika? Okay, maybe to expound further. Corn is usually fed in two ways, as silage and as grain. Sindio? Corn is known to be deficient in essential amino acid lysine. Soybean co-products are typically the prime feedstuffs. Soybean feedstuffs are deficient in the amino acid methionine. Therefore, these amino acids, I think I've explained on that. This means that protein synthesis and yield are limited by the amount of these amino acids in the cow's diet. Typically, a source of protein that will be undergraded in the rumen, such as blood or fish meal, and is high in these particular amino acids will be included in the diet to help compensate for the deficiency. So you get, now we from the feedstuffs that we had. So any diets that we give that are high in grass, silage and pasture, with barley and oats will be adequate in lysine and methionine, but deficient in histidine. So utapata, when you're doing your own formulations, you need to know what you are not getting from the feedstuffs that you have. You can have the two that I had said are limiting, but now then histidine becomes limiting. It has its own uses. Then utakuwa na ama utahitaji kusupplement. So protein is typically divided into two portions, rumen and degradable protein, and we have the rumen degradable protein. So the rumen and degradable portion will bypass the rumen and pass to the small intestines for digestion similar to that of non-ruminant, or yeah, it will undergo the normal course, yeah, protein digestion that we know from non-ruminants. Then the rumen degradable fraction has several fates. It's typically degraded to amino acids, dipeptides, ammonia by the microbes in the rumen. So you can either have the three, or from the rumen degradable proteins. So excess ammonia is ionized can be absorbed across the rumen walls and transported to the liver via the hepatic portal vein for detoxification. Detoxification into urea. So the urea will enter into the bloodstream, and we know the fates. It can either be recycled back into the saliva, and then it acts as a buffer of the rumen pH, or it can be excreted through urine. So fermented carbohydrates can be utilized by bacteria along with ammonia to make bacterial proteins. Cellulolytic bacteria need ammonia to optimize their ability to digest fiber. So this ammonia is essential for the microbes that are acting on the cellulose, so that they optimize their activity. However, protozoa cannot use ammonia as a source of nitrogen, and therefore must acquire the amino acids through absorption of free amino acids or through engulfment of bacteria. So what types of protozoa do we have in the rumen? Dr. Mushemi alipiga lecture mzima hapa ya rumen. Huh? Ya rumen health. So what protozoa do we have in the rumen? Higher. What is yeast protozoa or what? Where do you classify it? It's a fungi. It's a what? It's a fungi. What protozoa do we have in the rumen? Haya. Sawa tu, nitamaliza hii lecture na tuende nyumbani. But okay, these protozoa that are useful, they require to have also their protein source or their amino acids. So they either get them as free amino acids from other activity of other microbes. So through a symbiotic relationship, utapata some microbes have produced the activity have produced amino acids which they use for their own needs, or they engulf bacteria. Then we get they get their proteins from there. Then we have this term we call metabolizable protein. Why should we add that word there? Okay. This represents the amino acids which are absorbed by the cow in the small intestines. So that will definitely come up from the rumen and degradable protein. That is the proteins that will be digested through the normal course, through the enzymes in the small intestines. So that whatever we can take home from that protein and water view. Lactating cows should be fed on an array of protein sources instead of just one type. Sindio? Si tumeona hivyo? Because of what? So that we avoid the missing of an amino acid because of the stuff that we are using. For example, if you're using corn distillers, okay, basically, pick a githeri. You just add some. If you're using soybean, you can also try and find other animal sources, animal protein sources, to try and add up so that we have a complete profile of amino acids supply. It is suggested that the percentage of rumen degradable protein should be close to 10%. That is the bigger proportion, while the percentage of the rumen undegradable protein can be 5.5 to 6%. I'm working with 16%. 16% is what is recommended, but now, depending on the production of an animal, we can push that protein content up. Sawa sawa. Then we have carbohydrates, and I said I want to call them energy-giving foods because the main component that we are looking for from carbohydrates and lipids is what? Is energy. So they are the largest component in the diet of dairy cattle, comprising of up to 70% of the diet of a lactating dairy cow and more. And it's required in more quantities in the growing heifers and lactating cows. The two most common carbohydrates in the feeding of dairy cattle or in the feeding of ruminants. What carbohydrates do we have? Or what carbohydrates do we know? Huh? Grains. Okay. We have two forms. We have the structured ones and then the non-structured ones. Sawa sawa. What are the structured ones? Hello? Do you know cellulose? That's the main thing in ruminants because they are just different from other mammals because of the four chambers. Sindio? And the main item that is worked on is what? Fibers. Sindio? And the fibers mingi ni nini? Ni cellulose. So the cellulose bit, and we have the starch bit. Sindio? So the starches we get from grains and all that. Then these are cellulose, lignin, hemicellulose. We get them from where? From fibers. Sawa sawa. So we have the two. Then the difference between cellulose and starch basically is just the linkage. Sindio? From our biochemistry. Higher. Cellulose is more resistant to digestion than starches. Therefore, the primary difference is the type of bonds between the glucose links. And as we can see, in cellulose, the only difference is the glucose linkage. We have beta-1,4 linked glucose, and in starch, we have alpha-1 for amylose, and alpha-1,4 and alpha-1,6 for amylopectin. That is basically the difference. So we use these microbes not to do anything else, just to break the bond of the beta-1, what? Beta-1,4. Sindio? That is the only, that is the reason as to why we are having this complex digestion in a ruminant. So when we digest these structured, or these structured carbohydrates, and mostly the animal, we know they graze, they eat the grass and all that. When that is digested, or when the animal has taken the forage, they are digested, and the end product from the rumen, we get what? fatty acids. Sindio? And the 2 fatty acids that we get from this forage digestion is acetate or acetic acid and butyric acid. Sawa sawa? Acetate and butyric acid are essential in the milk component, ile milk butterfat. So I'll come back to it, but take note of that. So forages are typically fed with adequate particle, should be fed in adequate amounts, and the recommended size is a 3/8 of an inch, so that helps in regurgitation or rumination. That will increase the surface area for enzymatic action or even the microbes to act on this product, so that we get more nutrition from whatever we feed our animals on. Then, maintaining the pH concentration, or maintaining the concentration of the hydrogen ions at this maintaining the hydrogen ions levels at around pH of around 6 will help in having optimal microbial activity, and that will mean our animals will benefit more from whatever is fed to them. If the acidic conditions are prolonged in the rumen, then milk butterfat does what? Decreases or goes into depression. I think I talked about the structural and non-structural carbohydrate sources. We have the starches and the sugars. Structural carbohydrates are typically expressed as neutral detergent fiber when we go into nutrition, and we use this as the unit of measure of whatever we have in the rations. The material will comprise of cellulose, hemicellulose, lignin, and any other nitrogen bound to the fiber. The recommended concentration of neutral detergent fiber is close to 27 to 28% of the diet dry matter for lactating cows. The primary source of these NDF are hay, silage, pastures, roughages. That is basically what they get when they are feeding. See, that is what comprises the basic nutrition of these ruminants. So we have microorganisms that reside in the forestomach of a ruminant, and when they digest these carbohydrates, they produce the volatile fatty acids, as I had mentioned. The fatty acids are 3. We have acetic acid, that is 2 carbons in length. Then we have butyric acid, that is 4 carbons in length. And then we have propionic acid, that is 3 carbons in length. So all this digestion is giving us volatile fatty acids, and we will use them as energy sources. So the 2, as I had mentioned, will be used mostly in, because today we are concentrating on milk quantity and milk butterfat. They will be used in milk fat synthesis. Then propionic acid, it is a precursor for glucose. And glucose is used, or is the primary precursor to lactose. That is the number 1 osmoregulator for milk synthesis. It's to mean, for us to have lactose, we have a linkage of galactose and what? The glucose. Sindio? So we use propionic acid for increase in the amount of milk we get from our animals. So the more the propionic acid, the more the lactose production, the more the more the milk, or the more there will be pressure, osmotic pressure, and maji ikiingia hapo, everything else works, then we have more milk. Okay, to note from that point, it is suggested that cows fed diets containing greater than 50% of the diet as forages. So that is what we do. However, this can vary significantly depending on the inclusion of fibrous byproducts. If you're using other byproducts that are fibrous, then that can alter the percentage of the forage that we give. Okay, in other places, in other instances, where more forage can result in adequate production, you can also give. I know heifers and cows in the dry period, we do not really intensify the density of the nutrition we give to them. So for them, we can give more of the roughage than the concentrates and the supplements. Producers need to strive as these improved forages. Unapata mtu anakuambia, oh, this grass has more of this nutrient. If this avenue is used well, or you go for high quality fodders, that will reduce the budget you use for commercial concentrates to incorporate in the diet. Kama you are getting the proteins kwa nyasi, would you still go kwenda kutafuta concentrates for the same purpose? So basically that is what I am saying. So the higher the quality of the forage, the lesser the neutral-detergent fiber. And the neutral-detergent fiber, msisahau, kuna zile lignin, hemicellulose, and cellulose. So the higher the quality, the lower the neutral-detergent fiber. The other bit is also on energy, and this is the fats. And fats comprises the most energy-dense nutrients with 2.25 times as energy than carbohydrates. That is known. When we act of 2 to 2.25 times what carbohydrates give. So fats are appreciably fermented, are not acted upon by the microbes in the room as they are acted upon in the non-ruminant. Tumeshika hiyo? There won't be a lot of activity of the microbes digesting these fats. Just a very small proportion can be acted. So these fats can be divided into two. We have the glycerol and the non-glycerol. So the non-glycerol type are of no nutritive or very less nutritive importance. Those are the waxes and the sterols. Then the glycerol types includes triglycerides, phospholipids. Those are the ones that we use, or I was looking for that one. That is what we exploit for us to get energy from these fats. So, having known that these fats provide more energy than carbohydrates, then what do we do? How can we use them to help us in the production? We know there are some animals that require more nutrients than others. And yesterday I talked about a transition cow. Today, I'll also hint on them. If the fat is fed correctly in early lactation cows, there will be higher milk yields and enhanced milk fat content. That is given. We said the animal prioritizes whatever it has as energy for the various roles. Sindio? And the more the energy, that would mean we'll have more net energy that will be used for milk production. There will also be an increase in milk protein yield due to high milk production. So the more the milk protein. Tumeshika hapo. Then the other bit is post-peak production. You'll find now the animal will use the excess energy for its own body condition tuning. So you'll find the animal, kama alikuwa amekonda, the body gets into good scoring. Then cows should also experience improved fertility. So we said energy is very critical for the cyclicity of hormones. So if you nourish them with these energy giving foods and most importantly these fats, then we should see some improvement in the fertility of these animals. Then we have minerals. And with minerals, I know we have really exploited this field. Hakuna mtu anaitikianga kukosa chumvi. So, yeah, it's still very important. Mtu kuambie ukose kupea, but now they are needed in small quantities. We have them as micro and macro. So, in dairy cattle, mineral nutrition is essential for the success of lactation. We saw they take part in very critical metabolisms, so we should have them. And before I move to the other thing, because of the large amount of milk that cows produce at pasteurization, there is a large draw of on calcium. So often supplementation is required. So that is why you see a lot of the mineral manufacturers, they will put more of calcium in the leaks they have for high producers. Then just an example of some of the macro elements. We have the calcium. We talked about phosphorus. We have potassium, magnesium, sodium, chloride, sulfur. Then we have the vitamins, both the lipid, the water soluble and the lipid soluble, or the lipid soluble vitamins. Some are very needed by the body of our animals. Some of them can be synthesized. For example, vitamin K is very important in blood clotting, but it can be made. It can be synthesized in the rumen of the animal. Vitamin A, D, and E, we need to regularly supplement them. Then we have vitamin C, all that are water soluble, also needs to be supplemented. So take home. Producing of high quality milk from healthy herds starts with nutrition. That is yours to go and guide the farmer. Through proper nutrition and management, the dairy heifer will develop into a high producing dairy cow that can produce to its genetic potential. That is sure. But do we have them producing to their genetic potential? Do we have them doing that? Unapata mkulima ako Githunguri, yeye ana produce yake 40. Unashuka tu hapo kidogo, unaenda Kiambu, ama unaenda pande ile ya Nyandarua, the same genetic potential, the other farmer is producing 20 or 15. Why is that? That comes up because of the management, the nutrition, and basically, a genetic trait will express itself in an environment. So basically, look at the environment and you'll have a good production. Then optimizing milk yield will highly be linked on how the feed is converted to absorbable or bioavailable constituents. So feed conversion is also very key, and so taking care of the digestive tract is vital for that purpose. We have talked so much about the nutrients and how they will impact on milk production. We also have milk butterfat content, and that is what I was saying. You'll find an animal in some dry areas, utapata zinatoa maziwa ambayo there is a high butterfat content. Then in the same area, animals that are being fed maybe differently, producing lower butterfat content in the milk. Reason being, kutakuwa na nini? Haya, good. Daktari amesema it can be hiyo yenye na produce lower butterfat content kwa maziwa anapewa more concentrates. That is correct actually. That could be a case. Something else? Si useme hiyo reverse yake, useme the other one is being fed on more of neutral detergent fiber or more fibers. It is the same thing. So we have already seen what affects butterfat. So you'll find an animal will produce milk with butterfat kulingana na according to their genetic potential. Sawa sawa? But it can't exceed. But nutritionally, you can be able to prime this animal to produce the high butterfat content according to the breed of that animal. Because a Frisian can't produce milk with more butterfat content than a Jersey. We know that. But we can have a Frisian and a Frisian, one with lower butterfat and the other one with higher butterfat. So that is what I'm speaking about. In the same breed, but different variations because of nutrition. The other key thing, we go back to the rumen. We have to take care of it. Because if we have acidic or we have alteration of that environment, then we will have some compromise. When we have the compromise, we won't be having more of the acetic and the butyric acid. If we do not have them, then we compromise on the butterfat. One factor that adversely impacts milk productivity is malnutrition. Other stress factors also contribute to lower productivity. Therefore, the easiest way to increase milk productivity is focus on providing dairy animals with adequate and well-balanced nutrition. Some nutrition pointers that can help in increasing milk fat contents are, so some of the ways we can increase this milk fat content is emphasis on high quality forage. That one we have tackled, Cindy. And because we have tackled, let us do this slide as a summary. And the way we are doing it as a summary, we do it as we were doing it yesterday. I want us to leave in the next 10 minutes. So, see, we are doing pasture production. Yeah? Silence means what? Either floating or... So we are doing pasture production. When do you know that maybe Boma Roads is correct to harvest? Or it's in the right stage to harvest? Huh? On its flowering stage. When what percentage has flowered? Eh? Around 30%. Good. Sawa, we can harvest at that period. Na usikue wewe ni wale wanasema nataka kuharvest mbegu na bado nataka funga nyasi, so that we get the correct nutrition from it. So that is we harvest our forage at the right time. That is when they have high nutrient content, and also the water content is also within the recommended rate. Because if you harvest the forage when there is high water content, then it means what? There'll be a lot of shrinkage, sindio? Then you'll need to give the animals more so that you get the same nutrition from them. Aim to make sure that ensiled forages are correctly fermented and stay away from, free from molds and other fungal growths. Tumeelewana? So we have two types ya chakula tunapea ng'ombe. We have the hay and we have the silage. With the silage, we risk because we do not know the actual pH of the silage. So it should be properly ensiled. It should be free from molds and also other fungal growths. So basically what the poorly fermented silages do, they'll alter the environment or the ecology of the rumen. And when that is altered, we have acidic conditions. When we have them, there is decline in the population of the microbes that are cellulolytic. Then what do we have? Less production of volatile fatty acids. And we have seen how they impact what? The milk butterfat. The other bit is for those of us who are advanced or are managing advanced farms, we have TMRs, total mixed rations. So ensure that we have properly mixed rations so that the animals get uniform nutrition. Usipata zile ng'ombe zitawekewa chakula za kwanza that they'll have more concentrate than the ones that will get the feed. Baadaye zinapata more of the roughages, so that we have tupate chakula ambayo it's uniform for every animal. Then there is one point to note. Anything that is affecting the pH, we do not want it because it will depress the microbes. So slug feeding affects rumen pH. And what is and what is slug feeding? Aya. It is any feed utapea ikiwa na high grain content, sawa? So we have talked about that delivery of correctly mixed dairy feed rations. Now, evaluation of forage digestibility as well as fiber levels. You know, this is just a way of helping a farm or helping you understand what amount of fibers you are giving to these animals. So constantly, less fiber as well as forage digestibility intensifies in the dairy animals' diet. Approximately 50% of milk fat precursors are composed of short chain fatty acids and are produced during the process of rumen fermentation of the dietary fiber. A significant better quality of forage comprising of digestible fiber will increase milk fat yield. I already mentioned that. So the evaluation of the forage digestibility will work to the management of neutral detergent fiber digestibility, so that we maintain a constant amount of butter fat in the milk. The other thing is constantly check on fat levels. We said that we do not want anything that will increase or will decrease the acidity or the acidic the pH of the rumen. So we don't want to have elevated levels of these cereals. And one of the times when this happens, I remember yesterday or some other place, someone asked, can we increase these concentrates so that we provide more energy to this animal? Nilikuwa nimeulizwa nini? During the transition, so that we cater for the negative energy balance. Someone had asked that question. And it's a trap most farmers enter into. And you're called there and you do not really get to know what is the problem, but utapata, there is a grain overload issue. The reason as to why that happens, it's because the farmers they know the animal is needing a lot of energy, so they tend to give more of the starch. And more of the starch, if there are some forms that when you give to the animal, they are highly fermented. Zikikuwa highly fermented, they create an acidic condition that drops or is inhabitable for the rumen microbes. Then we have an issue with the nutrition. If we have that issue, then we do not have enough of the fatty acids. Then consequently milk production, milk quality is compromised. Also we have a product at Atlantis inaitwa White Energy. It's a rumen bypass fat. So it is 85 to 90% fats that are rumen and degradable, so they'll undergo the natural course of digestion from the abomasum all the way to the small intestines. Some other way we can use to manage butterfat is balance of methionine and lysine. See, we had said they are co-limiting. So if we balance them well, then we'll have optimal butterfats in our milk. And methionine is key in milk component optimization. So that is why I'm mentioning about the methionine and the lysine. So we have 5 ways of doing that. And in all of them, if you are to look at the root cause, if you are to go to the root cause of it, what is underlying, what is basic in all of them? The environment of the rumen. Sindio? Because that is where we are getting the volatile fatty acids from. So just allow me, I know I have some time to go through one of the ways. As Atlantis, we have a solution for the rumen. It's a bioengineering that we have for enhanced or optimized digestion. We have yesterday, as we were talking about AMR, we talked about probiotics. And we have such one probiotic. And before we get to it, when the rumen ecology is disturbed, then it adversely affects the rumen microflora and digestion functions. We have decrease in cellulolytic bacteria population. That is what we need for the cellulose and the hemicellulose digestion. decrease in protozoa count. We have disturbance in the rumen pH. We have increase in pathological, we have an increase in the pathological bacteria in the gut, and decrease in the volatile fatty acids and protein production. So when we have that, then we have a compromise. Then on the screen we have CAMBoost. Nani ametumia CAMBoost? Who has come across CAMBoost? How is it? Mm-hmm. So he has said that when he gave the animal CAMBoost, the animal that had an issue with the appetite, it responded very quickly. So we have CAMBoost, and it's a digestive enhancer, basically. And it all works to maintain the population of the microbes in the rumen. And we use it for any case that requires re-engineering or repopulation of the rumen. We have been indicating it for calves, and we also indicate it for large animals in the cases where we have an issue or a compromise in the appetite. So during transition, we said the feed intake of the animal is compromised, or physiologically it goes down. Sindio? So CAMBoost, we can use it to induce that state of mnyama kutaka kufanya nini? Kukula tena. So CAMBoost is a 7-in-1 digestive enhancer. And the reason we are calling it a 7-in-1 is because we have 7 components coming together for the sole reason ya kufanya mnyama the digestion to be alright. So one of the components in it is a yeast culture. This yeast culture is used to stimulate the ruminal microflora. When they are in good populations, then we have suppression of the Streptococcus bovis. That is a lactic acid producing bacteria, so that elevates or buffers the environment of the rumen or the pH of the rumen to make the rumen conducive for multiplication of the multiplication and activity of the rumen microbes. What will happen is, after all this, with the pH stabilization, then we'll have good rumen activity and more nutrient benefit to the animal. Then we have Lactobacillus, Sporogenes, and Aspergillus oryzae. These are bacteria. They reduce the incidences of diarrhea and enhance bacteria beneficial GIT microflora. So with them, they help even in the production of propionic acid. When the propionic acid is high, then we have more milk production. See, we had already seen that. Then we have fructooligosaccharides. There is a term I mentioned, inaitwa prebiotics. So this is a prebiotic. It works to nourish the other the microbes so that we have an improved digestion. Then we have vitamin B7, that is biotin. It's key. It enhances milk production, increases fiber digestion. When we have more fiber digestion, then we will have more of the fatty acids, then the milk butterfat will go up. Then we have methionine. Methionine is an amino acid. It will be utilized by the microbes. Then what we'll see consequently as a result is enhanced fiber digestion. Then from the enhanced fiber digestion, then it means we'll have more of the volatile fatty acids, all of them. So we'll have more milk butterfat and we'll have more milk in quantity. Also increases the crude protein synthesis by the ruminal microbes. Then, lastly, we have zinc, we have cobalt, and we have copper. All of them, one for B12, we know it's used for cobalt, we know it is used for B12 synthesis. When B12 is high, then we have more activity. Then this enhances the activities of the flora. Then we have improved digestion. That way, then from our end, I've given the basic what is supposed to be done. Then, in a case where there is an anomaly, or in a place where there is an issue that needs to be corrected, we have CANboost to do that. Sawa sawa? But the bottom line is, for us to have high milk production, and for us to have high milk density, we have to look at the nutrition of this animal. And then we have to look at the management of it, or the environment it is in. It should be stress-free, because we have seen stress will suppress what? Milk production and even the milk density. In a case where you find an animal is not having, in a case where you have an inappetent animal, CANboost has worked for us. Go try it out. Go do it as a formula, or in a place where you know you are giving mostly these more of the fibers, just to increase or to enhance on the digestion of the fibers, we can use CANboost. The other place and the most important aspect of, about it, I just touched on the digestion. We saw the rumen papillae. CANboost helps in increasing the number of the papillae and also increasing the size. When that happens, there is more surface area for absorption of the what? The volatile fatty acids. Sindio? When that happens, consequently, there is more production. In calves, we had a very good session, and we learned that development of the rumen starts the 3 months of life, za kwanza za ndama, is when we have the rumen development coming up. To try and help in enhancing that process, we also use CANboost, so that by the time our animal or our calf is being weaned, then we have this rumen already primed to take up solid feeds digestion. I've talked about CANboost and how it will impact on milk volume and milk density, or milk butterfat. Then we have white energy. I'd spoken about it being 80 to 85% fats, and mostly what is there is the 3 volatile fatty acids that we talked about. So when we have a case where the butterfat is down, we can use this white energy or these fats to correct on that issue. The other bit, we saw that energy provides 2.25% more energy than carbohydrates. So we recommend white energy to be given to animals at the rate of 100 to 150 grams per day. Is that much or little? Yo napenda kuuliza hiyo swali. Is that much or little? Naona kama ni mingi ama ni kidogo? Sema tu ni mingi ama kidogo. Ni kidogo. Aha. Nani anaona kama ni mingi? 150 grams. Okay, we are just using it for supplementation. Kama vile amesema ni kidogo, lakini hiyo ndio inafaa ng'ombe kwa siku, because we are just supplementing the animal. Sawa sawa? When we do this to a transitioning animal, it will help in one, provision of the energy. See, we said we had seen a negative energy curve. It can help in correction of that issue. But now for this lactating, the butterfat and the volume of the milk we get. Sawa sawa. Imagine you go for at 100 and to 150 grams. That is a lot of energy to that animal. Sawa. So we will have a correction. And what we have seen with white energy, because you give it to the animal within 12 hours, that energy will have gotten into the system. It's not a thing to do every day. It's not what we will rely on fully. I can help us in maintaining the butter fat. Sindio? But this is just coming in to correct. But in a case whereby it's basically phosphorus and vitamin B12. So it is essential for metabolism. When the animal's metabolism is at par, then we won't be having a lot of issues with milk production and also with the butter fat. Also, when we have compromise in the rumen environment, when maybe we had you have a case of we will be using. Ama ukitumia kwa whatever case you are doing, it will help in the recovery time. Sawa sawa, that is what I had for this session. I was really rushing to try and save on time. Number on the screen, and that is the end of that presentation. So it's open for any questions.
Yeah, my question is, I've realized you are talking about the rumen and nutrition. I want to take this advantage to ask my question. I went to my farmers up there, and some of the animals are, most of these farmers, they buy the animals